Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. And I really want to share with you a very personal and very scary ghost story. It's very overwhelming, and it also had a lot to do with the witchcraft that my grandmother was into. So, here we go. I'm going to start by saying that a bunch of things happened that had to do with this. And it was scary for me because of the fact that I was a kid. And I'm pretty much over it, but the point is it was very scary. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I think 6, before we moved out of the house, that when my grandmother was living with us, I remember talking about this part before in one video, even though I briefly talked about it because it was mostly about how the Spanish Cobras came to Milwaukee when we moved into another house, and how the neighborhood was nice back then, but then a couple of years later it got real bad when street gangs started to take over. I mentioned about the washing machine that started shifting towards my mom, and how it was actually she felt that evil presence, and that's when she wanted to like get the fuck out of there. And she told my dad, and we have to move out. Enough is enough. This is crazy. And with the attacks that my older brother was getting from his imaginary friend, and how he would act out and started acting all crazy and banging his head on the wall very hard. My aunt, she actually went as far as to, because of the witchcraft that she was also into, along with my grandmother. Well, we were over at the house, at her house, and they had a dog. I think it was a Doberman or something mixed with something else. I forgot what it was. And my older brother, was playing with them, and then the dog somehow got possessed, and my brother felt that vibe, and he got really scared, and he attacked him and bit him in the face. He couldn't explain it back then because he was a kid, but when he looks back at it, he knows that there was some form of witchcraft or something some kind of negative energy that was going on. So he had a scar in his face. I believe it was his left side of his face. The dog just bit him on the side, and there was times when things would move around in the house. I remember what you would call poltergeist activity. And I had this very strange, which I thought was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. I thought I dreamt it. but I did dream about it, like it was like a rerun kind of thing, in which in the dining room I was in there. I got up suddenly, and I just for whatever reason I just got up from bed. There was no school. It was during the time when there was no school, and very late at night, and for some reason the light was on in the dining room, and the chandelier was moving side to side, and then certain things in the room were moving by themselves. And I remember getting very scared. I had very little memory of it, but then I had a dream which pretty much did the same thing. But the thing about it is, I saw what it was that was controlling it, and it wasn't, my grandmother doing some kind of telekinesis or anything like that, or anything like that. It was basically these creatures. They didn't want me to see them, and they got extremely angry that I was able to see them. I would hear laughter in the windows, even though I couldn't see them, like materialize. There was times when I did, and they would get very fucking pissed off. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, right now, I pretty much got the idea of why. But back then, I didn't know. And as a teenager, when it happened every now and then, once in a great while, I didn't know either back then. But when I was able to see them materialize, or like it's just see them plain and clear, just as like I'm able to see a regular person in front of me from 6 feet away, 8 feet away, or whatever, they will look at me and they'll get really fucking angry, and they would attack me. Plain and simple. And like I said, there was also times where I couldn't really see them, but I knew they were there. And these were the elves, goblins, bogarts, bogies, whatever you want to call them, which were the same ones that were bothering my older brother. There was a time when my mother told me about the time when my grandmother took a knife and put it to my older brother's throat because of something that he knew, something he witnessed, or whatever the case may be. They put a knife to his throat and said, if you tell anybody, I'll fucking kill you. My mom back then didn't want to believe it. She thought that maybe he made it up or whatever, but then I was thinking to myself, no, fuck that. Why would he make that up? But then that was after he was acting out, and he was banging his head on the wall and saying, I saw the devil in the window, and he started crying, trying to grab my mom, all petrified. I saw the devil, and this and that, and it scared me a lot, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. But for that to happen, and then there was a time where he started acting very paranoid, and she was sitting down watching television. And for those of you who probably grew up in the 70s or knew relatives that grew up in the 70s, there was a very popular TV show. It was called Hee Haw. It's like a country redneck type of a comedy show. And my grandmother, even though she was very limited in English, she actually enjoyed watching that. And I remember she was always watching that in the living room. And then I remember my brother was acting very paranoid, and I remember like he felt there was something in the room, and I guess my grandmother, because she was babysitting us when my parents were gone, she told him to be quiet. He wouldn't be quiet, and she took the belt, and he was saying, they're in the room. I feel them, and she told him to be quiet. And I remember parts of it because I was just too busy being afraid and wondering what was going on. And I guess a commercial came on. She came up, and with the belt, she had him bend over right by the wall, and she would slap him hard in the back. And when she did that, he vomited. That's what I found very strange. And then she whacked him again real hard as she was observing him, looking at him, and he threw up again, more vomit. I couldn't understand why she did that. And I don't know. There was plenty of times, even when I was a kid, where I felt there was something standing next to my bed watching me, and I would get so scared. And like even adults will do this. They'll pull the covers over their head or over their neck, try to grab onto it because you feel more safe that way. This thing, whatever it was back then, I didn't know, but now I do. They would actually pull the covers, and then when they do that, you can't move, and it's like dread. It's overwhelming dread. And they would jump on the bed, or I would hear sounds, very, very strange, creepy sounds. And I remember being lifted off the bed, and then I would, like as if I was being levitated out, either through the window, which I remember at two different occasions, like my body became incorporeal, like you're able to be, to move through walls like a ghost. And that's when I got put up to the UFO, this giant spaceship. And there was times where I went towards the dining room, and right under the chandelier, that creepy fucking chandelier, and I would go into it and get sucked up into it, like the chandelier would morph or something. It was like it would morph to something, and then like a power vacuum of some sort. And I remember being so fucking paranoid and afraid, and I thought that I wasn't gonna come back, that I was gonna die from wherever they were gonna take me to. And I remember that I was going through some kind of, I don't know, what felt like some kind of either maze, or it was like some sort of experiment. I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember briefly, just very big glimpses here and there, that there was other kids in this one room, and I was going through a maze, and that's what caused my claustrophobia, because the way they had it set up. Like right now, I cannot stand fun houses where you go through mazes and stuff like that. Fuck that. It fucking bothers me. It was very traumatizing for a kid to go through that. And as an adult, of course, it would chase me and stuff like that. Now, this is way before I found out why I was attracting these things to begin with, how they actually put this, this curse on me. Again, like I said, I don't hate my grandmother. I hated what she did. I really hated what she did, but I can't necessarily bring it upon myself to hate her, because she was a victim too. She grew up and lived a very fucked up life herself, and it pretty much fucked up her mind, and she became crazy. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.